if you've been to this website before, you know I'm a big steam car enthusiast. The Stanleys, got a number of Stanley steamers. The Doble, the greatest steam car of all time. This in here is a white. This is a 1907 white steam car. And until the Doble came along, this was the most advanced steam car. And pretty amazing vehicle. Stanleys are a lot of fun, but not nearly as sophisticated as one of these. Whites were the first White House vehicles. In fact, the Army bought more whites than all other vehicles combined because they were so dependable. It's a condensing car with a compound engine. Let's take a look at the motor. You know, a while back we did when I first started this website, guess what kind of engine this is? And we showed this thing running. And since that time we blew it up. It pretty much, the D valve, the slide valve broke. And if you go to this website, you'll see how we made another one using our CNC machine. So we put new pistons in it, had to make new pistons, had to do everything to it. This car has not really been restored, just constantly updated. It was owned by a man named Warren Weath. He got it in the early 50s. He did the initial restoration on it in about 51 and 52, drove it everywhere, went through a couple of owners. When I got it, it had been sitting for about 7, 8 years, and since they're filled with water, you know, the kind of damage water can do. So we kind of had to go through and do a lot of things on it all over again. The thing that's different about it, unlike the Doble and the Stanley, which have direct drive because there's so much torque with the steam engine, this actually has a transmission. You can put this car in neutral. You've got a high speed and a low speed gear. When you put it in neutral, you can run the engine, which will then pump water and keep the thing going. Unlike a Stanley, which has a tube type boiler where you're heating up as much as 10 gallons of water at one time. With a White, you're only heating a gallon or two. The White company built sewing machines. In fact, that's where the expression runs like a sewing machine came from, because they built such high quality sewing machines. I'll tell you what, let's go through, I'll show you, we'll do the warm-up process, and well, I'll show you what you got to do to get this thing started. First thing you want to do is put some air in here and make sure that you have air pressure in your pilot and in your fuel tank. Okay, this has a pump, an air pump on it. Once the car is running, the air pump will pump air into the gas tank, which will force the fuel forward. But since there's no electrical parts on this car, everything is mechanical, you hand pump it up with air. You can do it with this hand pump here. You can turn this and pump it with air. You can spend half a day doing that. Or you can just use an air gun and fill it with air. You see on the gauge there where it says 40 pounds right here? Next, you want to open your pilot fuel here. You can hear the air go through. Then you take your key and open your gas tank, or open your gas tank pressure. Like that. And you want to make sure you have water in your boiler, because you don't want to fire it up with a dry boiler. Okay, so let's we'll push it to the door and we'll put some water in it. It's a big deal starting a steam car. What you want to do now is force some water into your coils. I'll show you in a diagram in just a minute what we're doing. Now you can hand pump it like this 50 or 60 times and pump water from the water tank, which is right here, or you can just put it on using a hose. That's what I'm going to do right now. When I see water coming out of this drip valve, then I know I've got enough water in my boiler and I'm safe to fire up. This is a diagram of the White steamer. Although it looks complicated, it's really not. The only really sort of complicated parts are your flow motor, which is right there, and your water regulator, which is up here. This is your gasoline tank. It comes in here, goes through the burner. This is your feed water. This is hot water, and the yellow is superheated steam. Green is just feed water. That's cold water coming out of your water tank. You have a water regulator, you have your flow motor, which the way the flow motor works is it works on pressure and temperature. Temperature gets too hot, it shuts off the fuel. Water pressure gets too high, it shuts off the water. which in turn shuts off the fuel. And that kind of clicks on and off, on and off. This is your condenser here. As you see, your hot water leaves your compound engine, goes in here as superheated steam, gets cooled by the fan, turns into hot water, eventually cool water, and then circulates back again. Actually, this will be available on the website. You can upload it and then study it yourself. Study on your own time. It's the honor system. You've got your pilot light like you have on a Stanley. And what you do is to preheat your pilot, you open this door here, and first you introduce a little gasoline. You open this valve here. This is your valve directly to your pilot. Okay, see gas spilling on the floor? Now this will send flames shooting all over the place. Okay. What I'm doing now is just heating the surface area where the gas, liquid gas will come through. It'll hit this hot metal, vaporize, become a gas, and ignite my pilot further up. See the window? Yeah. What I need to do is transfer all the fire up to there. Now I can hear it. It's making a gurgling sound, which means it's not quite a gaseous state yet. It's liquid going through a venturi, so it's not quite a gas yet, but I've got to turn it up a hair. What I'm going to do now is open up the firing up valve. Take a look in here, and you'll see fuel shoot into here. What I'm doing is running the engine to get any water out. The firing up valve just shoots raw fuel in. It doesn't regulate. Just once everything gets hot, you shut that firing up valve. I open this valve here, and this will automatically regulate my fuel through the flow motor. You have a temperature gauge on the floor, and I have a modern, or at least by 1970 standards, modern temperature gauge here. I have 400 degrees and it's climbing. What I want is about 700 degrees. Then I know I have superheated steam. As you can see, it's very quiet. These cars are meant to cruise about 35 miles an hour. Top speeds, maybe about 50. Believe me, 50 in this is the end of the world. What you have here on the floor, this is what they call a simpling valve. When you come to a stop, or you're on a hill, or you're starting out from cold, you press that. And what that does is it turns it from a compound engine into a simple engine. Remember when this car was built, it was 1907. The self-starter hadn't been invented yet. Gas cars, you had to crank, you could break your arm, you could get exhausted doing those things. Whereas this fired up fairly easily and was quite dependable. As I'm pressing the simpling valve, give me a little extra boost to pull away in high gear so I don't have to downshift. It's perfect weather for this car. It's a little cool here in California today. It's maybe about 50 degrees, so the water's condensing. You know, on a hot day, you might get 30 miles on a tank of water. On a cool day like this, you might get as much as 300. And as you can see, we're cruising at about 35, 40 miles per hour. You see the flow motor working, it's shutting the fuel on and off. The one thing about these cars is they like to run at a steady speed like a train. You get it up to 40 or 45, it likes to stay there all day long. There weren't any red lights when this thing was built. So when you stop, the flow motor and everything kind of has to sort of find itself again. But once you get going down a two-lane road at a steady speed, it holds your water, it holds your pressure, it holds everything. It's pretty neat. Now we've only gone about 3 miles. Once everything gets hot, you pick up more speed. It goes faster and faster because it's a cool day and all the pipes are cool. So once everything gets nice and toasty, you'll be running 50 miles an hour with 400 pounds of steam. Pretty amazing car. They're a lot of fun. There's nothing more fun than steam. As I said, there are a few vehicles you can get burned to death and scalded to death at the same time. You know, Stanleys are a lot of fun. You heat up water, you use it all, and you use a gallon or two every mile. whereas this you use the same water over and over again. So this was for, the Stanley was more for the guy that liked to zip about and go get places quickly. And this was kind of like the Cadillac to the Stanley's Mustang. That'd be fair to say, I guess. Stanley was a little more sporty, a little quicker. These were big, solid, heavy cars that could go long distances reasonably trouble-free. As I said, that's why the White House used them. These were the first White House vehicles. So, well, that's pretty much it. And no, I'm not going to do a burnout, so we'll see you next week.